Let's start with identifying where you want to go. So creating a vision for where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, that's going to help you understand what kind of programs you need to launch and what programs you should either reject or, if you're currently offering them, potentially stop. Your vision is what's going to help set the course and the direction for your department. There are so many directions you can go and ways in which you can grow. And for this reason, crafting a vision can be overwhelming. So what I want to share with you are some simple rules you can implement when you're creating your vision. If you take a look at your screen, you can see this first rule sets the furthest boundary out. And it may be obvious. This is deciding what you don't want to be. So, for example, if you know that your business school is doing executive development, you can say that you don't want to do executive leadership or management classes. The next thing you want to do is align your department with your university brand. This is important because the overall university brand will, in almost every case, be stronger than your department brand. Don't fight it. Go ahead and build on it. I'm going to compliment the shop that's up the street. Georgia Tech's continuing education program has done a great job with this. Tech is an elite school known for its engineering program, and its continuing education department aligns this brand with their offerings. And you have to think, not aligning your offerings with the university brand, it's just going to confuse your customers. You want to make it simple for them to make the choice to purchase a class from you and invest in themselves using your university classes. It's kind of like McDonald's trying to sell a new line of prime rib steaks for $20. They could be the most amazing steaks in the world, but you're not going to pay $20 at McDonald's. It just doesn't align with the brand. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a mandate from your university, make sure your offerings align with the mandate. In tough economic times, you want to make sure you're not only profitable, but you're consistent with the overall university. You know, a lot of universities are talking about looking across the landscape and making sure everyone is pulling towards the same goal. And right now, if you're not doing financially going gangbusters, you can at least say, I'm helping to contribute to the overall mission and the mandate of the university by supporting the mandate of my department. And if you don't have a mandate, that's something that I strongly encourage you to see if you can help get some guidance on what that mandate should be. Get your leadership to say, here's what continuing education can be for our university. Next, take a look at your community. Your offerings should reflect your community. If you live in a community that has a large manufacturing sector, offer Six Sigma. If you live near a tech corridor, offer technology classes. In this climate, the build it and they will come mantra just is not true. So no matter how cool a program is, it only matters if you have students who are in that class to experience it. And finally, make sure as you are looking at your vision, you are capitalizing on your strengths and opportunities and limiting your weaknesses and threats. If you don't have a strong online platform, become a leader in in-class experiential offerings. If you don't have access to classrooms, but you do have an active downtown community, offer classes in unique locations that may be away from campus. Our next step is to look at where you are now, and brings us quite nicely to what I just commented on, looking at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A SWOT analysis is just a really great way to say, here's where I am, here's what's happening right now. If you take a look at the screen, I like setting up the SWOT with this kind of cross-section structure. That way, when ideas come up that may be better for another area, you can quickly write them down. So if you have a large whiteboard, you can divide it up like you see here. If you have a conference room without a whiteboard, just post 4 sheets of flip chart paper up on the wall. For a SWOT analysis, you want to gather a cross-section of stakeholders and department leaders to take a deep look at your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Strengths and weaknesses are internal. They are in your direct control. These are things like your program offerings, your staff, your marketing efforts. Opportunities and threats are external. They are outside of your control. These are things like your competition, the economy, and even the brand of the university. And I mention that because a lot of times people think of that as a strength, but really you don't impact the brand. The brand is kind of pushed down onto your department. So let's just go through a real quick example of a SWOT analysis. Let's say that for your CE unit, your strengths include a well-known accounting certificate that has strong enrollment numbers each quarter and low direct expenses. Another strength could be your website, which is ranking well overall on organic search terms, and you've also optimized the website for your top five programs. Both of these are strengths, and they are internal or within your direct control. Weaknesses for your program would include a lack of an email marketing system. This means you don't do a lot of email marketing, and when you do it, it goes through your Outlook, so you can't track the impact of the email. Also, let's say your department has stagnated and you've not added any new programs in more than a year. Again, both of these are in your direct control. Now, as far as opportunities, and as a reminder, these are outside of your control. So an opportunity would be your state has received stimulus money, and that's being funneled into training programs. Also, the nearest university competitor to you has closed up shop and stopped offering non-credit courses. And finally, threats. Again, this is external. So an obvious one is the economy stinks. Unfortunately, it still stinks. And let's say you live in a moderate-sized city, so you have another competitor, maybe a for-profit competitor, who saw your accounting program and said they're doing well, and they decided to launch an accounting program of their own. Now, when you complete a SWOT analysis, there obviously won't be 2 or 3 things in each box. There probably will be closer to 20 or 40 things in each box. This exercise is going to give you a lay of the land and a chance to step back and take a holistic look at what you're doing and what you could be doing. We're going to revisit all of these later on in the process as you begin to fine-tune your program launch plan. So another quick poll. And Jonna, if you can go ahead and launch our poll, I'd like for you to think about the threats you face right now and choose one. And you may be looking at these threats saying, we're facing all of these, but choose the one that for you is most painful right now, whether it's the economy, outside competition, pressure from the university to generate revenue, changing interests in programs, and that could be that you're seeing a drop-off, for example, and an interest in paralegal programs, but you know there's an uptick in interest in LEAD and green programs, and trying to prepare yourself and adapt to meet those needs. Or if you're facing something that you know in your mind is big and bearing down upon you, and I don't have that listed here. So if we can take a look at that. Oh, I'm sorry everyone for getting back up. Okay, we've got just about, let's see, everyone's voted. The economy is actually second to pressure from the university to generate revenue. And of course, that's, those two you can't help but note are certainly related to one another in most all cases. So we'll continue. I just wanted everyone to have a chance to kind of share what they're facing. And we'll get back to our webinar. The next step is to look at research, because it's research that's going to drive the rest of this process. If you take a look at the graph, you can see the reason why we have research as the third step in this process and not as the first or second step in this process is because your research is going to be determined by your vision and your audience. Pardon me, your research is going to be determined by the vision of where you want to go, and your audience then determines that research.